Susan, can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Cool.
I'm going to my desktop this time instead of my laptop, so.
You're on mute.
Yeah, okay, I just unmuted.
Okay.
and I can see.
Okay, I'm okay. So we're broadcasting on TV through Grassroots now, Bill, so we can go ahead and call the meeting to order.
Alrighty, thank you very much. Let's call to order Town of Basalt Planning and Zoning Commission meeting Tuesday, March 16th, 2021. Let's have a roll call, please.
Okay, and it's 6:14. Bill Marin,
Yo.
Kyle Oberketter,
Here.
Gino Rossetti. Gino, take yours off mute.
I'm sorry.
Nope. Okay, you're here. Eric Volzek,
Yeah.
Michelle Tebow,
Here.
Bernie Grauer,
Here.
Rob Levitt,
Here.
Cindy Hirschfeld.
Here.
So just to note that we have 7 regular members and 1 alternate, and just a reminder that that means that all the members can participate in the discussion, that when we vote, Cindy as the alternate will not vote. So I think, Bill, we're ready for the first item.
All right, let's approve the minutes of February 2nd, 2021. Does anybody have any additions, changes, or corrections to make? If not, let's have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a first. We have a second.
I think Gino was a second.
Gino's second. Rob's first. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the minutes pass 7-0.
Actually, excuse me,
Okay.
I was gonna abstain. I wasn't there, so.
Oh, okay. So,
It still passes.
yes, so Cindy voted, so it'll be just 7-0. Okay.
All right, item 3A, Pitkin County referral for Emma Fields Distillery. I wanted to say something about this before. We voted on this one already. And so there's been some changes in an updated application. And so our review of this and our updated referral letter is going to be just for the items that have changed. And I want James to be fairly clear about that. Go ahead, James.
Okay, let me try to share my screen here, just a quick second. So as Bill indicated, this item is a county referral item. Pitkin County has referred the application to the town to provide comments as the property is in the town's 3-mile planning area. The property subject to the application is the 100 Hoagland Ranch property, and it's located just to the east of Holland Hills. You see the property here in green. Here is Holland Hills. Here is Highway 82 going down Valley. And here is the Roaring Fork Club across the highway. It was most recently used and approved as a landscaping service yard for Four Seasons company. As I indicated, it's in the town's 3-mile planning area, but outside the town's urban growth boundary. And it's located in the Pitkin Basalt Junction area, or it's also known as the PBJ area in the town's master plan that was established in conjunction with the Pitkin County staff as part of the town master plan. The proposal is for a distillery as well as crop production and a single family house, as well as a caretaker dwelling unit. And you see the proposed improvements here in this table. That's part of the application. And then you see them laid out on the site plan. This is Highway 82. Here is Hoagland Ranch Road. And then you've got the distillery building, you've got a warehouse, you've got an administrative area, and then you've got the single family residence to the north, as well as a caretaker's unit or a CDU, and then an agricultural shed area that goes along with the crop production. As Bill noted, there was an application that was submitted in 2020 that was reviewed by the town P&Z, and the town issued a referral letter in 2020. The application that is submitted here is not significantly different and is pretty similar to the 2020 application. So in the draft letter that's in your packet, really the main changes are to the additions of items number 6 and items number 7. But I'll briefly go over some of the other adjustments that happened in the letter. This item 1 basically references that it's in the PBJ or Picken Basalt Junction area. It identifies that the proposal has the potential to be compatible with the adjacent land uses, as well as the criteria from the PBJ area, in that they propose not to increase the pedestrian traffic crossing Highway 82, as well as they do not propose to compete with businesses in the town centers of Basalt, in that they are not having a tasting room or having public or customers coming to the site. So this is basically the same as the letter from 2020. The second item is a comment about traffic generation. In the 2020 letter, it required that the applicants provide a traffic study to Picken County. And this application, the revised application from 2021, actually does have a traffic study that was done by SGM. It identifies that there's actually a significant reduction in traffic from the from the prior use of the site as the landscaping yard. So this comment has been adjusted since 2020 to identify that it meets the other PBJ requirement, which is not increasing traffic to the site as part of a new application. Comment number 3 that we have in the letter basically indicates that the applicant should be held to their application representations and the architectural representations that are in the project. And those are in your packet. Comment number 4 relates to Picken County consulting with CDOT as to whether there's a need for an access permit application. This is the same comment that was in the 2020 letter. And then comment number 5 requires that the applicant be held to their representations, and that if they propose to change the aspects of their application, that the town P&Z be consulted once again. And this is to ensure that they don't change the application to require or allow people from the public to come to the site and create a gathering spot. And this is the same requirement that we had in the 2020 letter. And then, as I noted, items number 6 and 7 are new to the letter. Item number 6 relates to how the applicant is going to take water back into the Roaring Fork River after it has been filtered from their distillation process. And town staff actually checked in with the Roaring Fork Conservancy, who has reviewed the proposal. And there is a proposal for water quality testing before it goes back into the river. And so Roaring Fork Conservancy thought it was an acceptable proposal and indicated that they might want to be contacted to observe periodic testing. And then item number 7 relates to the caretaker dwelling unit or CDU on the site. The proposal is that they have agricultural occupancy priorities for the unit, and that was part of the application. So staff in the draft letter has just indicated that we encourage Pickens County to require it to be deed restricted so that you have that agricultural occupancy priority. And then number 8 is the same comment that we had in the 2020 letter, which is to require a high level of green building and efficiency, as well as the installation of renewable energy facilities within the project. So generally, that's a rundown of what we have in the draft letter. As a conclusion, we do have the applicants here this evening, and staff would suggest allowing the applicants to provide any comments that they may have on the draft letter, or answer any questions that you may have of them. And then staff would suggest the commission having a discussion on the letter, and then P&Z could ultimately either direct staff to transmit the letter as it's been written, or direct staff on amendments to the letter if the P&Z has adjustments. So I'll stop sharing my screen here. We do have the applicants. Chris Benden from Benden and Adams is here. Chris, would you like to introduce your team, please?
Sure. Thanks, James. Chris Benden with Benden Adams. Matt Patel is on the line. He is the principal with Emma Fields Distillery. Mary Elizabeth Geiger is an attorney with Garfield Hecht, and Luke Bainberger, architect with Anderson Mason Dale. We think we have a really interesting and exciting proposal in front of you that achieves a lot of things that were set out in the master plan, and is a great way to reactivate the property. As you know, it's kind of laid fallow for the last few years. It has a history of commercial use. And we intend to replace all of the existing structures, be slightly less floor area than is out there today. We feel we have a very attractive architecture with some simple buildings with a modern, clean look. We're using roughly half of the site with agricultural use, and so you can see the buildings there clustered on the southern end of the property. We have roughly half of the employees from the former landscape yard, and we'll be generating fewer trips, as James mentioned, from our traffic study. And this distillery will be a model of green building technology, and we might have Matt make a few comments about that at the end of my comments. And we think is a really interesting way to assist local agricultural uses with a resurgence of local grain production. We have reviewed the draft letter that you have in front of you, and we do support it in the way it's drafted. Your support for this is very important to us and is very much appreciated. Certainly means a lot to us going into a hearing with the Board of County Commissioners. A few points that I want to just emphasize that James mentioned, and they are in our application, but I think it's important to emphasize them. This is a production facility, so this is not a place for public gatherings. It's not a bar, it's not a tasting room, et cetera. So there is operations there, but it is not a public gathering place. The SGM traffic report, as James mentioned, demonstrates a significant reduction in traffic generation from the previous use. And it's our understanding that will not trigger an access permit from CDOT. We have some maintenance commitments regarding the intersection that we've committed to. There will be ongoing testing of the water, and James mentioned the discussion with the Roaring Fork Conservancy. The CDU will be deed restricted, and we do agree with that, and the priority for agricultural folks and on-site workers. And as I mentioned, a high level of green building technology. We're happy to address questions that you have and get into more detail to the extent you'd like. But with that, maybe Matt, if you could make a few comments about the green technology in the building.
Yeah, to give an overarching statement, what we're proposing here is really a very modest distillery as far as production capability. And what we're trying to do is build a sustainable model that reaches towards regenerative agriculture to sustainable distilling that references responsible water use. And importantly, in Colorado, has a very responsible plan for what we're doing with our distillery waste. The biggest issue with distilling is what to do with the liquid, stillage. It's a product that's very difficult even for large municipal sewer districts to deal with. And what we have is a very revolutionary technology that we're very excited to deploy here that, has been developed over the past 10 years on multiple different applications. But essentially what will happen is after distillation, the waste effluent goes to a large equalization tank and then is moved to a microbial fuel cell set in series. And what this does is clean that water to a degree that makes it safe for crop irrigation, or with further polishing, can get it ready all the way to fully reclaimed water, or certainly suitable to discharge into the Roaring Fork. We met with Rick LaFaro of the Roaring Fork Conservancy because as we kind of finished our cycle, we have a program to use some of that water for, irrigation of the crops. We have some design of doing some hydroponic farming indoors within the warehouse building, but especially in the summer months when the river's under stress, Rick, wanted to make sure that the water was suitable, to be discharged back into the river. So we are working with Aaron Scott at the state. If we do discharge back in the river, we will have a full state issued EPA permit that'll be governed and monitored by us. Our system is with a high degree of technology. So we're constantly monitoring that, not only on site, but remotely, by computers with our team of engineers following that system. We're so excited about this whole package that, we actually upped our sustainability standard to seek LEED Platinum. So currently the facility is designed at the time that we commission it to be certified LEED Platinum. But beyond that, we're seeking to be the first project in Colorado to meet all 7 petals of the Living Building Challenge. So I don't know how many members are familiar with that, but that is kind of a new initiative that's even more rigorous than LEED Platinum, that goes back and does an ongoing audit to make sure that the design is actually matching the performance standards. So at the end of this, we'll have a zero carbon footprint, be energy positive, positive water use, and meet all the other 7 petals as far as beauty, nod to a sense of place. And, we're very excited to achieve that, so, this is, one step of getting the approval from Basalt Planning and working our way through Pitkin County. But any strong endorsement, the P&Z can kind of give us for the project, we're very enthusiastic about, where we can kind of serve as a new bar in a county that already has a lot of sustainability goals. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Any other members of the applicant team wish to add to that?
That's it. We'd be happy to handle questions if you'd like.
All righty, let's put questions to staff or the applicant. Kyle, would you like to start?
I don't have anything this time.
Thank you. Rob, would you like to ask some questions of staff or applicant?
Just a quick question. We discussed this a year ago, and I'm curious why it wasn't submitted or why it's being resubmitted, or why we're rediscussing it now.
So go ahead.
No,
Chris,
go
I'll
ahead.
let you handle that because that was kind of more of a technical question of how the property was zoned as an unclassified parcel.
Yeah, Matt's correct. It was sort of a zoning technicality with the county. We were pursuing a code amendment and a rezoning at the time. As it turns out, it doesn't actually need that. What it needed was a federal permit for distilling, and which qualifies within the current zoning. The current zoning has been in place since the 80s. It's called unclassified, which is a kind of a curious name for a zone district, but it has a set of uses and so on, that it's performed under. So we essentially kind of backed up and resubmitted under the proper submission criteria.
Okay, thanks. That's it.
Thanks, Rob. Eric, questions?
Nothing.
Okay, Cindy, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I had a few questions. Since I wasn't here last year when this was discussed, I was just curious what kind of crops you'll be growing and what you'll be distilling. I mean, I assume.
Right. So the purpose of the farming operation in the hydroponics is strictly for produce and, creating a local source for, farm produce to deliver to restaurants, markets, farm markets, and the local population. So while we may use on occasion certain things in it, the majority of crop production is going to occur with other collaborations on parcels where, we can do grain separation and everything away from this site. So we're not going to be doing any kind of grain separation or anything that might be impactful to the neighbors. So this is going to be kind of very similar to what Two Roots Farms is doing in Emma. Harper Kaufman is, one of the local farmers we'll be collaborating with, on the project. But, that's kind of the goal, is to just, use the property for something, that's available to the local food markets.
So the growing, you're not growing the grains that you're going to be distilling. It's just
we are not.
Things.
Yeah, we are.
Oh, okay, got it. And I was curious, do you think, is the tasting room something that you would see coming down the line?
We do not operate that, in our model. Our goal really, if we do anything with Colorado laws, if we did a tasting room, it would be on a site that would be either, downtown Basalt or downtown Aspen or something that's more convenient for the customer base versus coming out to the distillery. So, we're planning on running that with just a handful of employees, and we just don't want to have the staffing issues of trying to run a tasting room. It's really not our model of what we're doing.
That's it, Cindy?
That's it for me. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Michelle, do you have any questions of the applicant or staff?
Oh, of course I do. Some of them are just really basic. I'm not familiar with distilling. Are there any odors associated with this?
So what our process is proposing is an entirely enclosed and trained system. Our grain will be grown off-site, milled off-site, and come in super sack plastic bags with udders on the bottom. So these will be kind of set over a hopper equipped with an auger that'll basically use that auger to kind of, by pipe, introduce that into the mash tank where there's a grist hydrator that'll add the water, so we don't have any dust issues there. The mash tank is entirely enclosed. Once we cook the mash in the mash tank, it'll go through a liquid solid separator where the dry waste will go into one of the tanks shown outside on the site plan. That is an upcyclable product, could be used for, any product that's seeking something that's high protein. So it could be animal feed, it could be a product for granola bars, it could be composting, but it'll be dry. Those tanks are equipped with filters on top of them as well, so they'll have scrubbers on them. After that step is when it goes to fermentation, where we have all enclosed tanks. We capture all off gases, where we're actually going to be cleaning the gases, sequestering our own CO2. That'll be a saleable product, but at that point in time, it'll scrub all the gases before they're discharged into the air. Once we go through distillation, obviously no odors associated with that or emissions, and then we go to bottling. So we are entirely enclosed. As far as our waste stream, once we take the liquid effluent over to our wastewater treatment, That is indoors. It's anaerobic, so it doesn't generate any methane or sludge. So at the end of that, we're left with the water either we're going to use for crop irrigation, which will be held in an underground holding tank, or it'll be fully polished before it's suitable to go back into the Roaring Fork. So we will not be emitting any odors in our process.
And so does the anaerobic process take away the some of the risk for a spill or toxins, or you see where I'm trying to go here a little bit with like an alcohol issue or something catching on fire or something to that respect?
Right. So the stillage effluent does not contain the alcohol. The alcohol from the stillage is actually going to be held in a controlled area. So as far as our fire plan and everything, we actually have a consultant that's mapping out those zones and everything with the Roaring Fork Fire District to kind of meet all those guidelines that any distillery would need. So it's going to be fully designed and vetted before it moves forward. But good question.
Great. And I'm super excited about you doing the Living Building Challenge. That's huge.
We're very excited. We're very, very excited. And what it has been a bit of a pause is as I've been delivering the message, I thought more people would be really, knowledgeable about it. And I'm finding that people weren't that aware of that and that goal and how important I think that would be for our area of the world to kind of be the first in Colorado to do that. So I appreciate anything you can do to help us get the word out. Thank you.
Absolutely. Those are all my questions, Bill.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. Bernie, do you have any questions?
Michelle pretty well covered the questions I had in mind, so I'm fine. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Bernie. Gino, any questions?
Yeah, I do. I just, has the sanitation department been made aware of this project?
The local sanitation department has. We actually kind of, discussed our technology with them, so they're very excited about witnessing this. We actually got referred to the state, so what we're doing is actually being managed by the state as far as our approval process and vetting the technology. So, but it is proven technology that's already been deployed.
So it would be comfortable to say you have their support?
Yes.
That's great.
Maybe Matt, you could just clarify that you're not on Basalt Sanitation.
That is correct. I actually have had discussions with Basalt Sanitation because before we settled on this site, I'm very aware that we could have been within the town Basalt limits and tried to discharge into the sewer and overwhelm their sewer. So the issue when you build a facility like that is you've got to have a footprint big enough to handle pre-treatment, because you can't just put this right down the sewer. So before I looked into this project, we met not only with Basalt, but there was another municipality right in this area that had another sewer district. I think it was Roaring Fork, maybe was the name, but we met with both of them, met with a county, and basically the Pitkin County referred us to the state, to kind of vet our process. Our permitting for this is coming through the state with engineers in Denver.
So Gino, it's not on the Basalt Sanitation system.
Okay.
No. It's septic.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Gino. Now let's time for comments. And if you also have additions that you'd like to add to the referral letter, please state them at this time. Do you want to start, Kyle?
Oh, just a second, okay. Bill. Just to kind of notice that we didn't advertise this as a public hearing, but on referral comments, as you know, we've been allowing anybody from the public to comment. So right now, we haven't identified, no one's identified that they would like to speak. If you want to make any comment, you would need to call 1-253-215-8782 And the webinar ID is 915-0144-7179. Or the easiest way is to go and use the public access instructions that are the second page online of the agenda. But so far, James, can you just confirm we don't have anybody on the holding system on your computer, right? That's looking like they want to speak or ask questions.
That's correct. We don't have anybody in the attendees area waiting to speak.
So Susan, I don't have to open this up for public comment.
We're just kind of identifying that no one's identified that they'd like to speak. So I think we're good.
So we're good for comment now?
Yes.
Okay. Kyle, let's get back to it. Would you like to add your comments and any questions or comments about the referral letter?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. Rob, comments?
You know, just that it reads a little clinical, and do we want to add a line that a little bit warmer support? You know, we welcome them to our neighborhood, their community, something.
Okay, I'll ask that at the end. We'll see if we have a straw poll for that.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Rob. Eric, questions or comments?
I think it's a really valuable project. I'm excited to see and hopefully to meet these kind of pretty lofty goals, and a great way of kind of meeting the you know, a small project that talks to the roots of the agricultural roots of our valley. And I would agree with Rob that if here's your straw poll, I would add some warm language in there as well.
All right, thanks. Cindy, comments?
Nothing too much. I think it sounds like an exciting, interesting project, and I'm going to look up the what did you call it? The living building challenge?
Yes, the Living Building Challenge.
Yeah, I'm going to look that up and learn more about that.
Yeah, actually a great example of this is the Silver Oak Winery. They were the first large scale project to achieve it. And literally we kind of modeled a lot of our systems and design over, you know, what they achieved last year. So yeah,
okay, cool. Now that's just a coincidence that it's a winery, right? It's not something directed to the hospitality industry.
No, it was a winery. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think, James, isn't RMI a living building challenge?
Yes.
They are, yeah.
Yeah, I was just double checking, but yeah, they went through the living building pedal program.
So it would be pretty rare for a town of 4,000 people to have two buildings like that within.
Well, you know what's interesting too, Bill, is there's 7 pedals. So it's a great goal to achieve 2 pedals, you know, but to achieve all 7 pedals, there's, I think, only 25 in the United States that have hit all 7 pedals. And our goal is all 7 pedals. And that's why we feel this site is such a unicorn. It was hard to find everything that we needed on one site. So yeah, I think it is a great accomplishment for a small town, for sure. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's all right. Michelle, do you have any comments to add?
Yep. On number 5 on the letter, can we just be a little bit more explicit about it not turning into a tasting room or retail center? And then on number 8, I would add my warm fuzzy as championing the pursuit of the Living Building Challenge as my straw poll vote.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Bernie, comments, please. You're muted. There you go.
I got it. I think the project is very complementary to the vision of Basalt, integrating our agricultural heritage with our modern uses and development. I think it's well thought out, and I wouldn't be overly complimentary, just because I think we should always reserve judgment. We approve things, and we don't know how they're going to turn out in 20 years, but I think, like Michelle said, we should mention specifically achieving the living building status is something that Basalt recognizes and supports.
All right, thank you, Bernie. Well, I'll add some comments to this too. I differ from Bernie. I think we could be over complimentary about this because it is quite an honor for us to have more than one building like this within our community. And I, having just gone through with Chris, a project in Pitkin County, I know how difficult the BOCC can be, and any help we can offer these guys would be, I think, well appreciated. And so I think it would go far to speed this process along if we added a ninth comment that was addressing some of the comments that have been spoken of tonight. And that being said, do we have a motion to do just that?
May I make a comment first?
Yes, Gino, yes.
Thank you. I think in looking at it, very supportive of the project. I think it's been well presented to us. I think you guys know what you're doing. I looked at the architecture and it's fitting to a very simple architecture out in the boondocks. I think your palette of materials is very much in keeping, and I'm very supportive of this.
Thank you, Gino. Gino would like to make a motion.
I'd make a motion for approval.
All right, thanks. Do we have a second?
Does that motion include adding point number 9, showing our support?
That was my intent, yes.
So do we need to amend the motion?
No, because I thought we went into it with that.
I think a clarification would be good.
Okay.
One, does the motion include that? And then I think we should address Michelle's comments.
And maybe instead of adding number 9, maybe adjusting comment number 1 to be more supportive instead of just may be consistent with the uses, indicating that it is consistent with the adjacent uses and indicating that it meets the criteria for the PBJ area.
Well, number 1's kind of a mouthful. And so I thought it would be more useful to the applicant if there was something standalone.
Yeah, it doesn't belong with the number of pedestrians.
I think it should, I personally think it should be a standalone number 9, or move all the numbers down and make it number 1. One of the
I agree with Bill. Let's make it number 1. We want this building. Let's make it number 1 with the incentive right there that we want the living building
Does anybody
initiative
object
pursued.
to Michelle's addition to the motion? No?
No.
Gino, do you accept that as an addition to the motion? Gino, do you accept that as an addition to your motion?
No.
No?
No.
You don't want that?
No.
What would you, since you made the motion, what would you like?
The way it is, the way it stands.
Without any additional comments?
No.
All right.
I don't know what good they would be doing. If it's bothering you, I would accept it, but I don't really see the value. I don't know the need. Maybe if somebody else went on a little bit further, I could be tempted. But...
All right. Well, Michelle, would you like to make a motion to that effect?
Well, you have a motion and you don't have a second yet. So I think you should call for the second.
Okay, let's call for a second. Is there a second? If we want to amend the motion differently, let's not accept a second.
In that case, I'd make a motion to accept what Michelle had.
All right, thank you.
Number 1.
Thank you, Gino. So we have an amended motion. Do we have a second?
Can I ask another question though, Bill?
Yes.
Michelle also asked that number 5 be a little bit more specific about it not becoming a gathering place. and a tasting room.
Does anybody object to that? No?
No. I think that I would just add that Bill to approve the new motion as written. Pardon me. If we're going to add number 1, I think Bill, you should see it before you send the letter.
Okay, I'll do that. Okay, Susan, what do you need now?
Well, let's
what do you need?
clarify the motion. We have a motion.
I have a question.
Just a second, Bernie. We have a motion that's been amended to create a new number 1, indicating support of the application and in particular, the living, supporting moving forward, living building challenge. And then we have an amendment to number 5 that's just being more explicit about it not becoming a tasting room or gathering place. So that's the amended motion, and we don't have a second.
Do we have a second to this?
I second the amended motions.
Okay, we have actually 2 seconds. Let's let Bernie take that one. So we have a first and we have a second. Do we want a roll call vote on this, Susan, or?
Yes, I want a roll call vote. Do you want to call for the vote?
Yes, let's call for a roll call vote, please.
Okay, Bill Marin,
Yes.
Kyle Oberketter,
Yes.
Gino Rossetti,
Yes.
Eric Volzek,
Yes.
Michelle Tebow,
Yes.
Bernie Grauer,
Aye.
Rob Levitt,
Yes.
and Cindy doesn't get to vote on this one. So the motion passes 7-0.
Thank you all very much. Great presentation.
Okay, thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Welcome. All right. Our next item is Myers Ranch, item 4A. Is this James or Susan?
This is actually Sarah Nadolny, who is back on, and we also have Tom Newland, who's representing the property owner, also on, and Sarah will probably introduce him also.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Okay, thank you very much. So again, my name is Sarah Nadolny, for those of you who might not know online. And this is another referral from Pickett County. They're asking for the town to provide a referral on the development of a caretaker development unit. Is that what we're calling this? Caretaker dwelling unit, sorry, CDU, that's on the Meyer Ranch property. There's proposing a unit that will measure just under 1,000 square feet. It's a 1-story unit, 2-bedroom, approximately 15 feet at its highest point at the shed roof. I'm happy to show a picture if I can share the screen. If that's of any help. Let's see. Are you seeing my screen with the site plan?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
fantastic. Thank you. I have 2 screens. That's sometimes funny to figure out where I'm working from. So the CDU is proposed to be within the developed area of the Meyer Ranch property. You'll see the proposed CDU is down here to the south off of this little cul-de-sac. And this up top, up north here is the barn. There's a single family home, a shed, a greenhouse, and some other existing development there. So the CDU is proposed within this developed area. It will use the existing driveway that accesses the Meyer Ranch property from 2 Rivers Road. And this area is outside the town's urban growth boundary, but it is within the 3-mile planning area, which is why we're asking the P&Z to weigh in on this referral. And just a little bit of the architecture they are proposing. Again, it's a 1-story, pops up to access or to allow these clerestory windows on top. Has a shed roof, and it's kind of built with these 2 arms. So you have 2 bedroom wings with living space, shared living space in the middle there. And so I'll just go through the staff. Staff has created a letter of referral letter from the P&Z, and I will just go through those 9 items that are found within the referral. Number 1 is that the proposed development is generally consistent with the 2020 master plan. which mentions that this is an area that is identified as a process that an area that needs more study, but it does allow for rural lots for the Meyer family. And the P&Z finds the addition of one CDU to be compatible for the town's goals and land use strategies for the Meyer Ranch property. Number 2 addresses that the addition of the single CDU is acceptable outside of the town's urban growth boundary. It's not considered urban or suburban level of development. And as 1,000 square feet, it's basically comparable with the maximum size for an ADU that could be found within the town. Item number 3, so the proposed ADU is located adjacent to the existing ranch buildings, and so that it will maintain the rural character of the area. Item number 4, so the proposed CDU is not expected to add significant traffic onto Two Rivers Road or the intersection at that light onto Highway 82, and it's not anticipated to overburden town services. Item number 5 says the CDU will share access from the existing driveway onto Two Rivers Road, and the P&Z recommends requiring an access permit that is consistent with the requirements in other unincorporated properties. Number 6 addresses that the P&Z recommends high-level green building energy efficiency and installation of renewable energies on the building. Number 7 is the P&Z finds the architecture consistent with the architecture of the agricultural mixed-use typology in which this is found, and that Pitkin County should require consistency with the architecture that is seen in the application. Item 8 references the need for the owner to pay appropriate fees to the town for additional water services. There's no annexation proposed with this, so water is required, or no annexation for water is required as the property is outside of the urban growth boundary. And lastly, item number 9 addresses that the P&Z recommends that the county incorporate the applicant's representations to deed restrict the caretaker dwelling unit, along with any changes needed to ensure that the compliance with the county's regulations. So that is the long and short of the letter. As Susan had indicated, the representative for the applicant, Tom Newland, is here to answer any questions that you may have. And I'm happy to show you more images from the application as you would like. Oh, and so the P&Z, you could you could accept the letter as is and have staff prepare this to transmit to Pitkin County, or feel free to weigh in on any amendments that you may have to this letter.
All righty, is there any presentation from the applicant? Sarah?
Tom, did you want to share anything?
No, I don't think so. You pretty much covered it, and you did show the illustrations that I wanted to show too, so that's good. Maybe just a little preface on why we're doing this. You know, we went through the master planning process there recently, and the owners got the impression that any sort of development outside of what's happening there now would be a tough row to hoe. So they wanted to concentrate on how they could enhance the agricultural operations out at the ranch. And that's really what the CDU is all about. Initially, it's going to be Tricia's house while her son and family can move into the main ranch house right in the middle of the compound. But eventually it'll be opened up as a true caretaker and or farm worker residence. You all know how hard it is to get affordable housing in this valley anymore, and the writing's on the wall. If you're going to have it, you got to build it yourself. So that's really kind of the intent of this CDU, to help perpetuate the agricultural improvements and uses on the property. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom. Let's ask questions of staff and the applicant if you have any. Let's start with Kyle. Kyle, do you have any questions?
Nope.
All right, thank you. Rob, do you have any questions of staff or the applicant?
I do not.
All right, thank you. Eric, questions?
No questions at this time.
All right, Cindy, questions? Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I have one kind of related but unrelated question. We're weighing in on this because you said it's within the 3 mile
It's
zone, or
within the 3 mile planning area. So Cindy, our plan, just like the other parcel, it's not within the town limits, but development within our 3 mile planning area, we provide referral comments. So
okay. And I'm just curious, based on our discussion in last month's meeting, was that structure in Elk Run not in the 3 mile planning area?
It was. Now on a little bit of the new, you'll see a lot of our comments here are kind of mirroring things that we brought up at the last meeting. On the last one, we weren't yet addressing a referral. We didn't receive a land use application. We were telling Eagle County what we wanted to see in a land use application. And we were also kind of, the P&Z brought that subject up to discuss it. In other words, at a prior meeting, I don't remember if you were there, Bernie had asked that we.
Yeah, I do remember that. I was just kind of curious about the.
Yeah, it's just a little bit different stage in the development. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That was my only question.
All right. Thank you, Cindy. Michelle, do you have any questions?
Is this going to be deed restricted?
It is within the application proposed to be deed restricted. And that is one of the comments in this referral is for this at number 9, the P&Z, and I should not summarize it, just read it. The P&Z recommends that the county incorporate the applicant's representations regarding the deed restriction on the CDU, along with any changes needed by the county to ensure compliance with the county's regulations.
And if I may, the county has a pretty much boilerplate deed restriction that you sign for caretaker dwelling units, and it requires you to either use it as a caretaker unit within the operations of your property, or to allow family to use it, or you can rent it out, but it must be under the restrictions of the Aspen-Pitkin County Housing Authority guidelines. So that deed restriction will be signed and recorded upon approval.
Great, thank you. That's my only question.
Thank you, Michelle. Bernie, do you have any questions of staff or the applicant?
No, I think it's laid out quite clearly.
Thank you, Bernie. Gino, questions?
Yeah, I think it's well presented. I'm just curious about the materials. Am I reading stone and metal?
Oh, Tom, you're on mute, sorry.
I'm sorry, that's a good question. I'm under the impression it's wood and possibly stone for the wainscot, but it's pretty a simple wood. And may I add to that, under that condition number 6, Pitkin County just approved a new energy code, which is really stringent as far as conserving energy, and will be required to follow that code. So you can count on having an energy efficient unit with solar panels, I believe. If not, we have to actually wire it for solar panels in the future. That's the one of the new requirements. So it'll be well built.
I think it's appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you, Gino. I think that's all. Let's start with comments. Kyle, do you have any comments to add?
Nope.
I
Rob?
do not.
Okay. Eric, comments?
Everything looks good to me.
Okay. Cindy, any comments?
Just that I like these kind of employee units that are built to a specific need.
Thank you. Bernie, comments?
I think it's an appropriate use for a desirable function, whether family or caretaker. So I think it's appropriately sized and designed.
Thank you, Bernie. Gino, comments? Do you have any comments to make?
No, I think it's good. I would ask Tom, is the Meyer family behind it? Good, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gino. Michelle, do you have any comments to add?
I support it. I think it's nice that they're not using all of the floor area that's remaining and building an appropriate sized CDU.
Thank you, Michelle. I only have one comment to add is that Pittman County has updated their energy requirements and building codes pertaining to that, and they are very stringent. So I don't think we have much to worry about with that. So I think we're ready for a motion to accept the referral letter. Who would like to make that?
Motion to approve the referral letter.
We have
As
two.
Second.
Rob spoke first, so he's first. Bernie, you're second.
Okay.
Yes.
I was just going to ask if you wanted to call for the vote. I'm sorry.
I'm going to call for a roll call vote, please.
Okay. Bill Marin,
Yes.
Kyle Oberketter,
Yes.
Gino Rossetti,
Yes.
Eric Volzik,
Yes.
Michelle Tebow,
Yes.
Bernie Grauer,
Aye.
Rob Levitt.
Yes.
The motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Sarah. All right, where are we now? Let's see. We are at the
Basalt Forward 2030 project.
Basalt Forward 2030 project. Susan, this is you.
Well, this is an exciting project because it furthers the implementation of the Basalt Master Plan. So there's really kind of two pieces to this. There's a facility needs study that was always in our budget, long overdue to look at all of the town's facilities and do a, what's the deferred maintenance, what are the future space needs, and do an analysis of what we need in the future. Pretty big topic. A lot of what's driving it is just energy efficiency and trying to meet our climate action goals with our own town buildings. But the second piece of this is really to try to implement the projects that were in the Basalt Master Plan. So this last master plan that we did, that we adopted almost a year ago, tomorrow is our anniversary of our adoption of our master plan. But one of the things that we did in the master plan is we, throughout this extensive public input process that we had, a number of projects were brought out by folks of things that we needed to do to make the town a better place and implement the master plan. And at the final, the last open house we had the citizens rank those projects, and then you could also go online if you couldn't make the open house and rank those projects. So I included a list of those in the master plan, and I think what was really telling from the master plan projects is a couple things. One, how the green initiatives, really there was just a number of projects that had to do with reducing greenhouse gases, building, and a significant affordable housing project was in there. There was just a number of key projects. So one of the ideas, one of the big pieces of this is to start with the master plan projects, work with a capital and facility committee, do public input through some additional surveys and other means of obtaining input, and then try to come up with a list of projects, not only on town facilities, but also these other projects to implement the master plan. We are the two key consultants here. The main one is really Cushing Terrell. You'll remember they were known as CTA when we did the master plan, but they were the lead consultant when we did the master plan, and they are doing the facility needs assessment of the town facilities, and they are also helping to facilitate the capital needs committee. So that committee is going to start meeting mid-May and continue through August to make recommendations on improvements. Some of the improvements could include operational. It isn't all just capital. And you know, one of the main ideas that's behind this is really looking at, does the town want to have a voter a question on the ballot about continuing the current tax rate? We have bonds that are expiring in 2022 and 3, and so the idea is potentially to keep those funds and fund these capital improvements. But that'll be a question ultimately, you know, based on this whole process, whether, you know, we move forward with that or not, or whether we just continue to update our capital improvement plan and or look for other funding. So if you're ready, people would like to come to the participate in the capital needs committee. You could do that tonight. You could also wait to a future meeting. Probably the last time, you know, that you could really consider probably doing that would be at April 20th, because the committee's going to start meeting in May. And right now it's made up of members of key Basalt Town committees. So it include the P&Z, obviously, and the Green Team, the Basalt Affordable Community Housing Group, from the Financial Advisory Board, from the Basalt Public Arts Commission, and maybe from Post. So that's kind of the lay of the land. The other consultant that the town's working with is WR Communications. That's Bill Ray. Some of you might know who he is if you've been involved with. He's kind of a political advisor, kind of helps organizations with initiatives. We used him when we were doing the Tabor question. RAFTA has used him a lot, kind of helping with that getting public input piece of this. So that's the main outline. I'm sure you guys have questions. And again, you know, if you're ready to appoint someone tonight, you can do that. You could also wait for a future meeting, or if you had questions that, you know, that are maybe the answers aren't there yet.
Susan, do you have an idea on the length of time the capital committee is going to be meeting? How often?
Well, the idea is to meet twice a month, and they're meeting from May, you know, starting mid-May through like the 10th of August was kind of the idea of the final recommendations. But that was the plan.
I think one thing that we could do is we could see who amongst us would be wanting to be nominated, and then we'll nominate someone from within our own group. So let's have a show of hands who's interested in participating in this.
So we have 4 right now. We have Eric, Bill, Michelle, and Gino.
And so we could either nominate somebody tonight, or we could all think on it, and at our next meeting, we'll make a nomination. Does anybody have any thoughts on all that?
Did I miss anybody? Because I didn't see. I'm sorry. And Eric was going to speak. I'm sorry.
Eric.
I was just saying I'm fine either way with what Bill just suggested. Susan, I just want to clarify, it is just one person, so it's not completely unwieldy?
Yes. Yeah, it's one person.
Because that was a lot of committees you just mentioned.
Well, yeah, it's 8 potential members, but yeah, and potentially the chamber. I think there's you know, the final, you know, there might be one of those committees that doesn't end up being part of the group. Like we had decided that the childcare group wasn't necessarily there. They'd be better coming in as advocates rather than kind of participating in the whole list of improvements.
I think let's just, Susan, why don't you come back to us at the next meeting and we'll be ready to nominate somebody. Let everyone ruminate on that about who they'd like to nominate.
Does that work for everybody?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. One thing I would like to add to this is this has been a pet peeve of mine for a long time, is that town hall is famously inaccessible for handicapped. And I would like to make sure that that gets added to some of the facilities to-do lists. Because, you know,
I want you to know, Bill, that when we did the scope of work, I only gave you the excerpt, but we made that a big emphasis in the scope of work, and we kind of emphasize it even when the code doesn't require it, because as you know, there's a lot of things that you can do without the code just absolutely requiring that right now that you did that.
Yeah, I just think since Challenge Aspen is so active in Aspen and through Basalt and up the frying pan, that it would be just good form for us to do that. I didn't want that to fall off the table, at least.
Oh, I agree.
Well, thank you for emphasizing it, because it is something that people easily point to the code, and so it's important to kind of elevate it above the code.
Yeah, it's, you know, if you're not going to do anything to the building, the code doesn't really require you to do it. But, you know, to have the seat of our town government be that inaccessible to a fairly large segment of the population is just, it's not a good look. And I think we as a town can do better than that. And that's probably not one of the most expensive things to do, at least to make the building partially accessible. Any other questions of staff about this or comments to make? No? All righty. Does this title have anything to do with some of the other famous 20-something municipal measures going on around the country? Susan? No?
I don't think so.
Okay, good. Let's, I think we're ready for commissioner comments and staff comments, if we're done with this. Because I don't think there's any action required of us on this right now, is there?
No, we're good.
Okay, good.
So in terms of updates, I think you probably all know that Stotts Mill is making some big strides in doing their required infrastructure. So they finally got through their issues. And so it's been really interesting from a standpoint of it really, this gate of, we have gotten tons of questions from folks who are interested in buying and building on lots in Stotts Mill. And so it's really increased, particularly James's workload to answer all of those questions. So we've been fielding a lot of development inquiries, working on a lot of pre-applications. You know, Willits is, you know, to cause getting ready for its CO. We just filed a condominium plat for block 11 North. Well, we delivered the stuff to the title company, so I'll be closing soon. And he's got some potential users going in there. So there's a lot of activity also going on in the downtown area. James, is there anything? Oh, I just want to mention that the Basalt River Park and the the bid and construction documents, the planning department is, heavily involved with that on the Basalt River Park. So that's moving along, and we'll be going to the town council first part of April to move forward on the bid documents there. And Albany Park, if you've been over there, is well under construction. So, and that will be a real fun project when it gets open. And I think that's all I have. James, is there anything I should add, you or Sarah? We've had more pre-application discussions on 147 Homestead. So that's making some headway. That's where Heather Kent's house was previously. James, is there anything I should add?
I don't think so. Generally, lots of activity that we're responding to.
I do have a question. Is the river work on the west end of the Basalt getting close to being completed? I thought they were going to be done on the 15th.
Not sure, but we can check in and circle back with you for an answer.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious because I hear them down there right now.
Okay, we'll check in and let you know where they're at.
They've been a lot quieter at night, though.
That's one of our comments. We had no idea that Eagle County doesn't have any construction hours. You can work on a holiday, you can work in the middle of the night, they have nothing in their code.
Yeah, they had 2 backhoes in the river, like till 11 o'clock at night, almost every night. But I know they have a very short window, from the Corps. So.
Yeah, you have these when you're in the river, you got to get in and out.
Yeah. So it's understandable, but it is awkward sometimes.
Yeah. So I think that's all we have.
All right.
I had a quick question.
Go ahead, Cindy.
What was in your update? You mentioned something about somebody being ready for users to come in. What project or building was that?
So where Block 11 is, it's Tim Belinsky's. It's, if you're familiar, it's off of the last, where the new gray townhomes were built in Willetstown Center.
Yes.
The large ones. There's in front of that was commercial spaces and residential above. And so he has COs for the residential units. People have been moving in already, but he does have tenants for some of those commercial spaces.
Oh, okay.
And there is a tenant for the commercial space, where the yogurt store was in Willits.
Yeah.
A new tenant that's going in there too.
Oh. I have to say, I was at the Aspen Art Museum last week, and they had this kids art exhibit from youth throughout the Roaring Fork Valley. And they were asked to draw along some pandemic themes, things that they missed. And I saw there was one drawing of the yogurt place of Maca that they missed. We looked at it kind of forlornly since we miss it too.
Yeah.
A question about Stotts Mill. I can't remember. Are they keeping that island of cottonwoods kind of in the back corner?
Back corner by South Side, or
no, towards the Rio Grande Trail, kind of the corner of the property on the east side there.
East side nearest the high school.
Yeah.
I'm looking out my window right now, Eric. I can try to tell you.
Well, I know they're there right now. I'm just.
Are they all still there?
I think where you're describing is probably down by.
It would be near where the tennis courts are going to go.
Yeah.
I think generally those are supposed to remain.
Gotcha.
Park parcel.
And is their goal this year? Are they just doing infrastructure? Is their idea to start building any of the buildings, or not yet?
Yeah, their main start here is on infrastructure because they have a deadline to get all the infrastructure done, including the roads and the utilities in North Park, closest to the South Side subdivision. They are also indicating that they're going to look to get a building permit on the first of the multifamily buildings. Because they have a site plan approval on the design for the multifamily buildings that they need to get a permit on by the middle of April, or else it would expire. So yeah, they're proposing to apply for a permit on the first multifamily building.
Okay.
And
Thanks.
you know, one other thing that will, not from a land use perspective, but more from it'll affect you moving around town. There are some repaving projects on the books for this summer, and one from the roundabout on East Valley Road, from the roundabout down to Lewis Lane. So you're going through the commercial core of Willits. They also have Emma Road in front of the Roaring Fork Mobile Home Park. That section, and then Midland Avenue from Emma Road to the intersection. Plus, remember, we're going to have Two Rivers Road under construction as part of the River Park development. So there's a lot of coordination and stuff to happen with that. But
Ernie.
Just Councilor comment. I attended by Zoom the initial scoping session on the Forest Service land adjacent. It's immediately west of Crown Mountain, and there's a 40-acre plot along the river, basically, which is being earmarked for conservation, but a 28-acre plot along Valley Road that's potential development. And we heard community comments and possible stakeholder comments, and the Forest Service informed us they expect to get their EIS out by late summer or early fall, and there is some energy to get this land turned over, and we should expect to see that'll be in our 3-mile impact zone. So we should expect to see some planning activity by Eagle County either late this year or early next year.
Thank you for that heads up, Ernie.
is anybody else invited to those listening sessions? James and I will be participating on Thursday, and we're poised to repeat what's in the master plan. So
Yeah, please keep us informed as to what's going on out there.
okay.
If that's it, I think we're ready for a motion to adjourn.
Can I make one quick question?
Sure.
We discussed 5G, I don't know, a year, 2 years ago, and we're supposed to get updates periodically on the technology and where that stands in town. It's making some news in Aspen, so we're next.
Yes.
So just maybe a future agenda when things are slow.
Yep. Okay.
All
Sorry
right.
to interrupt, Bill.
No, that's all right. That's all right. We want to get those things in. Anyone have any other comments to add before we ask for a motion to adjourn? Nope. If so, let's have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Yes, we have a second. Eric.
A second.
Gino, a second.
Okay. All right.
Bye, everybody.
Well, you can call for the vote, Bill.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all.
Good night, all.
Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody. Good night.
Bye.